I hate YouTube advice channels. That's what this video is going to be about. All the advice that you get from these channels is just plain bad. It's just dog crap advice. Most of these channels, all these channels actually, they only focus on the advertising aspect of all this. They never focus on like how to actually make videos good. And that's because these are educational channels, right? That's what they're good at. They make educational videos. If you want to make educational videos, then watch these guys. They can tell you how to do it. But the thing is, if you're not making educational content, none of their advice should matter. Obviously, some of it is okay, but that's the stuff that's like just common sense, right? Like, make your title and thumbnail good. Wow, I'm shocked. This is amazing advice. I've never heard this before, actually. Make your title and thumbnail good. This is profound and esoteric, actually, and I'm very impressed that you told me this, and I'm going to leave a like on your video. No one has ever said those words. Somehow people do comment stuff like that, but none of the advice is good. It's all generic. The other thing they'll talk about is make sure the first 30 seconds, like right now, are like really good so that people don't click off, which is, again, everyone knows this. Not everyone does it, right, because they're lazy, but everyone knows this. Like, this is just common sense. All you need is for someone to tell you that one time, and then you need to just practice it by like seeing some examples and then making a bunch of videos, and then you'll get good at that. That's all you need. But instead, these channels, what they'll do is they'll milk that exact same video about title, thumbnail, and retention. They'll make a separate video for retention. They'll milk those three topics for 45 minutes per video, and they'll talk about the exact same thing 700 times, and they'll just keep repeating the same thing. Like, your title should be good. Your title, you want your title to be good, because if your title is good, then people will click on it. And if your thumbnail is bad, then people won't click on it. So actually, you need your title and thumbnail to be good. And then if people click on the video, then the first 30 seconds they don't like it, they'll click off. So you have to make the first 30 seconds good. And that's the entire video. And then they repeat that for 45 minutes. I don't know how people watch these channels. I don't know how they have 1 point something million subscribers. It doesn't make sense to me. It makes sense that people want to like look stuff up for advice. That's why I know that they exist, because I did the same. But after listening to them, like, none of the advice is good. It's all just bad advice. It actually reminds me a lot of self-help books, right? Like, self-help books always go like crazy viral on like the New York Times bestseller list, because no one right now reads real books. Everyone just reads self-help books because they want to be productive or whatever. And then all the advice in those books is like, if you want to be productive, you should learn how to get stuff done. And that's like chapter 1 is like how to get stuff done, and chapter 2 is like how to finish things that you started, and then chapter 3 is like how to do the next thing after you finish something. And then everything is just the exact same thing repackaged into like a different frame. And then these books sell millions of copies, and actually good books get like no views, but I guess books are dead. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but let me get back on track, all right? The reason that they give all this generic advice instead of good advice is because a lot of the advice that you actually need is genre specific, right? It's niche specific. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Niche. Some people say niche. I say niche. All right. It's niche specific. So let's say that these channels wanted to like give like specific advice for certain genres. They could do that. But they would be cutting their audience in half, right? Like, everyone wants to know how to make a good thumbnail and title, right? So like a bunch of people are going to click on that. But if they make a video called like how to make the best gardening YouTube channel, no one's going to click on it besides the gardening channels. But there's not as many of those as there are just generic people looking for title and thumbnail advice. So they'll always make generic advice. And if you want like specific advice that's like probably better, then you have to pay for their courses, or you pay for their consulting advice. That's like thousands of dollars for some reason. But the thing is, I don't understand how the consulting advice can be good, because they don't make those genres that the people are consulting them for. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you're a gaming channel or a comedy channel or you're a cooking channel, right? None of these educational people know how to cook. They're not funny. I know they're not funny. And they don't play video games, or they're not that good at them, right? So if you're a gaming channel or you're a comedy channel or you're a cooking channel, and then you go to these people, you pay them thousands of dollars, and then you ask for advice, what kind of advice can they even give you? Right? It's not going to be good advice. It's not going to be something like super wise or anything. What they're probably going to tell you, and this is a guess, but I'm like certain this is correct, what they'll do is they'll watch your channel and they'll be like, you know, your titles could be better optimized for browse because you don't have subscribers yet, so you want to make the metadata as good as possible for the algorithm. So that's like one thing they'll say. They'll look at your thumbnail. They'll spend a week milking you of more money on your thumbnail and just making you do a bunch of little edits to your thumbnail. And then they'll basically tell tell you that to improve your retention, you should add a bunch of B-roll and add a bunch of pictures. Like right now, I'm not adding a bunch of B-roll or pictures. I have this green screen behind me, but that's it. But if I took this video and I sent it to them, they would probably just be like, oh, your thumbnail is just a little bit too esoteric, and your title, I don't think it's properly optimized, and there's not as much going on the screen, so people might click off. Like, yeah, this is like common sense advice. How is this genre specific? And the thing is, they can't give genre specific advice because they only make one genre, right? They're not going to know how to make a video helping a cooking channel, right? Besides the basic advice of make your title better, make your thumbnail better, and make your first 30 seconds better. So yeah, they give the generic advice publicly, and they give even more generic advice, except it's specialized to your use case when you pay them money. So it's all generic advice, right? So that's why I don't like these channels. That's like the main reason why. And again, this is fine. I'm not saying that they can't do this. I'm not saying that like there's no utility in watching them. A lot of the time, like it's just like background noise. Like you just passively consume it and you just internalize like, yeah, maybe I should make my titles better, which is true. Most people should probably make their titles better. I should too. I'm not good at it. But that doesn't mean that the advice is necessarily good because they're making the same video 700 times and it's the exact same topic, right? They could make one video and just leave it up and that would be fine. And again, this is their business model and it's fine, right? That's what they want to do. That's how they make money. That's how they sell courses. They can do that. But I don't understand why people would pay them for advice unless you're in that niche, right? Like if you're an educational channel, if you're like a finance education channel, if you're any type of education, economics education, math, CS, whatever, then yes, those channels might be helpful because your stuff is like search based. And like a lot of the advice they give is like search based stuff because they do search. Because like if you watch one of these videos, the one thing they say all the time is like, oh, you want your stuff to be evergreen content that's searchable. Dude, no one is looking up half the stuff that I make, right? Like my stuff is comedy. I'm not going to make comedy searchable. I'm not going to ruin the entire joke because I want people to find it. Like, I get that sounds dumb. Like, why would you not want it to have more reach? But I don't know. It just kills the artistic integrity. Is that gay to say? Is it gay to say that I care about the artistic integrity of my work here? I don't know. It probably is, but that's what I believe. But yeah, that's like basically like the first part of this video. I don't like their stuff because it's generic and it's not really that helpful. And you can only pay for it if you're like them, right? And a lot of their advice where it's generic, it's like not bad. Like I'm not saying you can't watch the videos. I've watched the videos. That's why I'm like making this video. But like it's all generic. It's all very basic. You don't need that advice. The problem is actually that a lot of channels now on YouTube, they all look the same, right? Just go on your homepage and look at a thumbnail. Every thumbnail has like the exact same look because everyone's ripping one another off, right? No one's making thumbnails that are like actually eye-catching because everything is the same. They have one guy with like a soy face and you have like the text. The only thing the thumbnail works for is for you not to click off. Right? The thumbnail is just, at this point, the thumbnail is just something that you want to be good enough so that people don't think it looks bad. Really, that's all it is. People think that the thumbnail improves click-through rate. I don't think that's true, right? Maybe if it catches your eye. In certain cases, there are thumbnails that have like caught my eye, but those are very rare. Most thumbnails are like, do I like the title? And does the thumbnail look like it's like at least somewhat good quality? Then the video will probably also be a decent quality if the thumbnail is decent. So like I'll click on that video, but that's not because the thumbnail caught my eye. It's because the title caught my eye or because like it was just on my screen. 99% of thumbnails on your homepage, if you go on your homepage right now, I guarantee you most of them are fine. Like you can critique anything. You can like overanalyze something and be like, this guy's face is too big. You should saturate it more. Maybe add an outline and some drop shadow. No one is noticing that stuff, dude. Like at the margins, yes. And so if you're optimizing, yes, you should make it like that. But when you're starting out, dude, like wasting your time on that stuff is, I think, not that useful. Like make the video first, right? Like get good at making videos and then focus on thumbnail. The advice from these guys is always the opposite. They never tell you this. What they tell you instead is that you should make the thumbnail and title before the video even comes out. Like you should have these done way before in advance. They all say this. Mr. Beast says this. And again, I'm not going to say Mr. Beast doesn't know how to make YouTube videos. He obviously does. But again, Mr. Beast, no offense to Mr. Beast, if this is going to sound very arrogant, but if Mr. Beast tried to make a video like this, obviously it would get hundreds of thousands of views hundreds of millions of views because he's Mr. Beast, but I don't think he would keep up with it because it's not what he does, right? He does what he likes doing, and so his stuff is what he likes doing and what he's good at. That's what you should be making, right? Like make stuff that you're good at and that you like making. I don't know why this is like controversial. It sounds controversial in my head because I'm criticizing Mr. Beast. I'm not criticizing him. He's doing what I'm describing. I'm just saying that the thumbnail advice is not for if you go to his first videos, the thumbnails aren't good, right? Like he wasn't making good thumbnails. So like you don't need to make a bunch of videos, and he's also said this too. Make a bunch of videos, make them better incrementally over time, and make sure it's something that like you actually want to make and that like you're actually good at. Because people make stuff because they think it'll like get clicks. And like, how long can you do that, right? Like, if you make a video, like a video goes viral, like Charlie bit my finger. I'm going way back, but Charlie bit my finger. Ouch, Charlie. That one was huge for like a long time. It was a great video. I don't know how many views it has. I think last time I looked it up, and it didn't have as many views as I remembered. But I don't know. Maybe back then 20 million was a lot. Now that's not considered a lot, apparently. But yeah, take Charlie Bit My Finger as an example. That video went viral, but think about that channel, right? Is that channel like a viral channel now? No, it's not, because it wasn't like a video. Like they didn't keep making Charlie bite his brother's finger. They didn't turn it into a series where they're like, Charlie, you need to keep biting your brother's finger so that we can buy a new car and a house. That's not what they did, because they were normal parents, and they had the video go viral, and that was it. I think they made like a repeat video a couple times, but that was basically all they did. Certain people did take advantage of that early on. Like most of the big guys from the early days are people who went viral by accident and they kind of like blew up, right? Like How to Be Ninja was one by Nigiga that kind of just exploded, and everything else came after that. But again, they were doing stuff without making money on it. They weren't doing it with the idea that like one day this will be monetized. No, dude, no one knew YouTube would be monetized. No one thought that it would be monetized, right? Maybe some people did, but I was young. No one who was making stuff at that time was like, how do I make this into a career? It was like, I like doing this, so I'm going to do this. And that's the stuff that's like genuinely good, right? You can want to make it into like a full-time thing. I'm not saying you can't. Like most people who are making it want that to be a thing eventually, but that should be circumstantial, I think. I don't know. I don't have that many subscribers. All this advice is coming from someone who is not successful on YouTube. So take all this with a grain of salt, but bro, I'm just talking, all right? You have to let me talk. But yeah, I think I got very sidetracked just now. But what I was talking about, I'm sweating, dude. I need to turn on the AC. What I was talking about was that all the stuff on YouTube nowadays is like rip-offs of something else, right? Like how many Mr. Beast clones are there, right? There's so many Mr. Beast clones. And they do get views, right? It's not like they don't get views. But the thing is, these channels that clone him are never going to be as big as him, right? Because Mr. Beast isn't big because he makes challenge videos, right? That's not why he's huge. It's a factor, right? People like that initially, but the reason his stuff is huge is because it's a brand, right? It's Mr. Beast. He's the one making the videos, and they all have a similar like thing going on, right? He's the one who does that. There's a personality, there's a voice, there's a creative voice baked into the videos. Right, PewDiePie wasn't number one for 500 years because he's like the best video game player in the world, right? It's because his personality was baked into like his earlier stuff. And I haven't seen what he does now, but I'm pretty sure it's the same thing, right? Like him playing Slender Man or whatever. I forgot the games he played, but they were mostly horror games when he blew up, I think, and he was just screaming all the time, and he would scream and swear in Swedish and whatever, and like people would laugh and they would watch it, and that's kind of how he blew up. But that was his like character, right, in the videos, right? Like the videos had a personality, and you can evolve. I'm not saying you have to stick to that. I actually disagree. When people say that when you go viral, you have to stick to that, I don't agree with that. That's like the Charlie Bit. That's actually why I brought up the Charlie Bit My Finger thing, but I got completely sidetracked. Like they didn't turn it into a thing. All these advice giving channels, they tell you, like they explicitly tell you, like if you have a video blow up, you should make more stuff like that. But it's like, what if this video blows up for me, right? I'm not an advice giving channel. What if this video blows up and then all of a sudden I start pivoting into giving advice when I don't even have subscribers myself? It doesn't even make sense. So like that's not good advice. If this blows up, which it won't, like there's no reason for me to make stuff about advice. Instead, what I should do is make stuff where I'm just rambling on camera, which I've done for the last video. And like that could be a signal, but like I was already doing that, so like it wouldn't even be like a big change. But anyway, I need to think about what I was talking about, dude. There's no script. Again, I don't script my videos. I write bullet points on the side, but I don't really script them. Let me think about what I was talking about, dude. Oh yeah, I was talking about one's creative voice, right? PewDiePie, Mr. Beast, they have their creative voice, their personality. There's a uniqueness to the stuff that they make. right? Your stuff should have something like that. You're not going to get it on day one. You might get that on day one. I'm not saying you can't, but like, it's not just going to happen where like your stuff has character like on it immediately. Like, most of the time that won't happen. It's like a slow and steady progression. Some people progress further than others. Some people start higher than others. So the hierarchy exists. I'm sorry, but like, you have to make stuff that suits your voice. Right? It sounds stupid. It sounds like just me saying words that sound cool, but it's genuinely advice, right? Everyone would agree with this if you ask them. Everyone who like has a big YouTube channel probably would agree with this, right? They would mess around with technicalities. They would disagree with some parts. Obviously, I'm just talking, like I haven't planned out what I'm going to say, so half this stuff you can throw away. But like, still, most of the big guys would agree with the fact that you need to develop a unique voice. Right? I think Doug, I don't watch his like stuff, but I came across one of the advice videos he made. That one was actually good. That's the only advice giving video that I thought was good. He turned it into like a very specific like example of like everyone has 2 skills. I don't personally think everyone has 2 skills. I don't think everyone has more than 2. You might, but like, I think not everyone has skills. That's what I think. I think not everyone's good at things, but he's making a general claim. He's saying on average, everyone has 2 things that they're like naturally good at. And if you're going to make stuff, your stuff should be within the realm of those 2 things, right? And I think that's good advice. That's basically him saying you should figure out what your voice is and then like narrow in on that and then find your product market fit and then like scale from there. That's basically what he's saying. But yeah, find your unique voice. And then also like in that Doug video, I think it's on like his 2nd or 3rd channel. I don't really know. In that video, he talks about how everyone has 2 unique skills on average and that you should pick like a plan for you to like actually make videos and get better. So for example, in his video that he made, he talked about the 1-year plan. And like, obviously 1 year is like probably not enough time for most people, but like 1 year at least is I think what he was saying, where like you make a video every single year, not every single year. What am I talking about? You make a video every single week for a year and you improve something every time, right? Like that is good advice. But like underpinning all of that is the 2 unique skills advice, which is essentially saying that you have 2 things that make you unique and you have to bake those 2 unique things into all of those videos every single week. And it doesn't have to be every single week, right? The real advice is that take a year and just pick a schedule, whatever you can stay consistent with. It might be once a week, it might be twice a week, it might be once every other week, it might be once a month or more than that. Just pick a consistent schedule and scale, like make everything better and like make it unique. Like try to find out what your voice is. You might know it already. You might think you know it and then you do stuff and you realize that's not what it should have been, but just make stuff, dude. Just you should just be doing things. I think this is what people forget a lot of the time. You can do stuff, right? This is like the big shock in everyone's lives that like, oh, how did this guy blow up so quickly? It's like, no, and then you look up that guy and it's like, oh, that guy was making videos for like 7 years on YouTube, getting like 300 views, and then he suddenly blew up. And everyone's like, oh, this is overnight success. This guy blew up. No, dude, he was making stuff for a long time, right? If you intend to do something for the rest of your life, right? If you plan on doing something for the rest of your life, why would you give up after like 6 months? That doesn't even make sense. So you were lying, right? You said you wanted to do it forever, but you gave up after a 6-month trial. You didn't actually want to do it forever then. I'm not saying that you shouldn't give up. Like some people should, right? Some of you should give up. And it's not because like I don't want you guys to make stuff. I mean, maybe I don't. If I don't like your stuff, I probably hate most of you guys' stuff. Let's be honest right now, all right? And this is not me being mean. This is me being honest. Some of you guys are watching this video because you thought it was like a YouTube advice video, and a lot of them clicked off already, or they pressed dislike, or they left a hate comment. Right? And that's fine, because like not everyone's gonna like your stuff. If the stuff you're making is like genuinely unique, that means that there will be people who won't like it. Right? If you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're appealing to no one, right? It's not something you should be trying to do. And a lot of these advice channels, they literally tell you to appeal to everyone. They tell you to niche down, but then they're like, oh, you want to do this? All the advice they give is very corporate. It's very HR. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you need to protect your brand, blah, blah, blah. No, dude, you need to be taking risks and you need to be making stuff that no one else is making. At least a little bit. You need to marginally be like incrementally be a little bit different from everyone else, and also all of your videos need to be different from the last one in a way that's like not linearly, like because like not every video is going to be like the same amount better than the last, but all your stuff should be like pretty good. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I didn't script this again, so like I don't know what I'm talking about, but make everything better than the last thing, and then make your stuff different from everyone else. right? In a way that's unique to you, not just different because it's different. If your stuff is different just because it's different, I think people pick up on that. I don't know if they do, but like I feel like people pick up on that. Maybe not. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I would say like do something different that's like unique to you, obviously. I think that's just like the optimal advice. And yeah, so that's like my advice. Again, take this all with a grain of salt. I don't have any followers, but let me talk about something else now. Let me expand on this now. So I talked about why I hate the advice giving channels, and then I talked about like what is my advice, right? Like what is good advice that's applicable to everyone, that's general enough for everyone, but that's still like good, and that actually gives them like a somewhat of an outline of what actually to do besides title, thumbnail, retention over and over again. So that's the two parts to this video. What is the third part? Let me think about what I'm going to talk about real quick. Yes, I have gotten it. Optimization, right? So all the stuff I've said in this video sounds like I'm anti-optimizing, right? Which is not necessarily the case, right? So I have to like specify this now. Should you optimize your YouTube videos, right? Like should your title and thumbnail be optimized? And should the retention be optimized? And these people, the advice giving people, they all say yes, right? Optimize, optimize, optimize from day one. I think this is a trend with just advice channels in general, not even YouTube advice, right? Lifting advice. I'm going to talk about lifting weights, all right? Jeffrey Nipples, right? Jeff Nippard, Jeffrey Nipples, that's what I call him. He does lifting advice. His channel is good. I'm not a hater. Jeffrey, if you're watching this, he's not watching this, but Jeffrey, if you're watching this, I'm not a hater. I'm just going to use you as an example, right? I started lifting weights like a couple years ago. I was not consistent. That's why I'm not buff, but like I'm doing it again now. So like I've been consistent again. Let's hope I don't fall off, bro. But anyway, let me get back on track. I came across his channel when I first started, and I watched like I forgot what it was. It was like a playlist of like beginner advice, and the beginner advice was basically like a whiteboard video of him going through like the scientific like papers on like weightlifting, and that stuff is good, right? That stuff is not wrong. Like the advice he was giving was not wrong, but it wasn't beginner advice. You know what I mean? It was more skewed towards intermediate beginners, right? People who have been lifting for like 6 months or like maybe a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, and now they're trying to scale. That's what the advice was for. And that's what I feel like a lot of the times, like just advice in general is for. It's always for like intermediate beginners. It's never for beginners, because beginners need like literal baby advice, dude. Like if you teach a baby how to, it's a lot easier to teach a second grader English grammar rules than it is to teach a baby, right? A baby has like very specific needs on like how to learn stuff. Any creative thing is the same way. Even like not even creative, just anything in general. Lifting weights, for example, the video that I'm talking about, he mentioned that the literature, which is true by the way, the average person, their optimal sets per week per muscle group is 10 to 20 sets per week. All right. So if you're training your chest, all right, you should be doing between 10 to 20 sets for optimal gains every single week. Now that's not bad advice. Most people, if they follow that, they will like grow, obviously, if they're consistent with it. So it wasn't bad advice. I'm not saying it was bad advice. Jeffrey Nipples, do not come for me. Do not send your jacked men after me. But the thing is, I did not keep lifting. Largely because I was lazy, but part of it was like I couldn't do that many sets. Like I just didn't like doing that many sets. I was doing like 90 minutes per day. When you're starting out, don't do 90 minutes per day. You're just gonna hate it and you're not gonna do it. But I was doing like 90 minutes. I was doing 20 sets when I started, and now I do like 12, and like I'll go up to 16 for like my back because I like my back. But like 12 to 16, between 10 to 16 is like where I like to sit. It's still within the range, but like I'm okay with doing less sometimes. Right? If I have a busy day, I won't do that much, but I still do it, right? Which is the point. I feel like that's not like hammered in enough with the advice stuff. When you're starting out, you want to just get in the flow, right? You don't want to optimize yet. I'm not saying optimizing is bad in any case, but it's something you do later, right? You want to build up a baseline of like skills that you can like build off of. If you're building something off of no foundation, it's not going anywhere. Like nothing is going to happen. So for lifting advice, and again, I don't know why I'm giving lifting advice now, but what I'm saying, because I have no muscles, you can see them right here. But like with lifting advice, I would say like when you're starting out, just be consistent, right? Do 5 sets. 5 sets of chest on Monday, 5 sets of back on Monday, and then 5 sets of quads on Tuesday, 5 sets of hamstrings on Tuesday, and repeat Thursday, Friday in that order. And you just did your upper body and lower body twice a week for 10 sets each, and take all those sets in your failure. right? That's literally all you need. That's the only advice you need. Obviously, if you're making a living off lifting advice, you have to keep reiterating the same video over and over and over and over again. I don't know why you have to do that. I think it's because the algorithm pushes new stuff more. So like the old videos don't get pushed. Also, like it's like a big quality difference. So like the new stuff, you can repackage it better. I'm not knocking Jeffrey Nipples or any of the lifting guys. Even any of the lifting advice guys, they have to say the same thing over and over again. It's their job. But yeah, the advice is very simple. That's all it is, right? Do like 10 sets per week, per muscle group, and then be near failure, and then scale that over time. Now you have room to improve, right? You can do 11 sets after 6 months, or like 12, and then like move up to like 20. Figure out what your optimal range is, because the average is 10 to 20. Yours might be 15. I don't know, dude. You have to figure that out for yourself. It's the same thing with YouTube, right? Or any creative task, any task in general. With YouTube advice in particular, I don't think it's hammered in enough that you have to be consistent. Like, I feel like that should be the only... If you're going to give generic advice, it should be that you should make videos, right? I guess it's taken as a given, but it shouldn't be, right? Because if you go to any of these channels, these YouTube advice channels, and you go to their comment section, you'll see tons of comments. So they're all the same comments. Sometimes I wonder if they're bots, but like it's all the same comments of like, you guys are going to make it. We're all going to make it, guys. And then you click on their channel and they stopped uploading like 2 years ago, right? And it's like, okay, so you gave up. You're not going to make it. I don't know. Did they think they were going to make it after 6 uploads? Like, there's no way they thought they were going to make it after 6 uploads. Maybe they thought they were. I don't even think I am. I think I'll need like multiple years, right? And like if it happens earlier than that would be great. I'm gonna do this forever. Like I'm not gonna stop making something. But yeah, you should be consistent. So going back to the Doug thing, pick a schedule and stick with it, right? That should be the number one thing. This section was supposed to be about optimization, and I'm a little bit tangent to that, but I'm still talking about it, right? Like you don't want to not optimize, but don't get so into optimizing so early that you miss out on like actually knowing how to do stuff. You know what I mean? Let's say you're starting from ground zero, right? Like you have no foundation, you're camera shy, you don't know how to talk to a camera, you don't know how to edit videos, the audio is like all distorted because you don't know how to gain stage it properly. Like all that stuff is like beginner problems, right? If you notice, none of these channels ever give you that advice. They will never give you specific advice. They don't care about the specific advice. If they actually cared about growing stuff, they would teach you how to edit. They would do editing advice. There's channels for that who do that specifically. Or they would give you advice on like how to not be camera shy, which again, that part is like, a lot of it is practice and repetition. Some of it is just natural. Right? Like, I don't think I've ever had an issue talking to a camera. It's just not that weird. Like, some people will have a lot harder times with certain things and other stuff. Some people will start a lot higher. Some people will get way luckier a lot quicker. But that's just how it works, dude. You can't get butthurt about it. Like, I was editing videos in middle school. Just for fun, right? Like I wasn't uploading anything, but I just thought it was cool to edit. And like I'm not like super insanely good at editing or anything, but like I've known how to edit for a long time. So I had very little learning to do, right? Like I know how to cut stuff. I know how to do a green screen. I think there's one video that I posted where I had like a pimple here and I edited the pimple out. And no one knows I did that. But like I know how to do stuff, right? I'm lazy about editing. My videos are like kind of poorly edited, but that's just laziness. Like I just don't like to do that much. You know what I mean? Like I would rather be consistent and get better at making things within that time frame than I would like make everything perfect immediately. You know what I mean? But yeah, so like people will start at different levels. You might not know how to edit. So you might have to like actually like learn how to edit, right? You might have to learn how to not be camera shy. That's all just stuff you got to do, right? So like the advice is always beginner, intermediate advice. It's never beginner advice, right? So like, yeah, that's my thing with optimization, right? Beginners shouldn't be optimizing because you can't possibly expect a beginner to be consistent if you're telling them that their editing has to be perfect or their audio has to be perfect, right? Let them just make stuff consistently and then like slowly like inch upwards, right? Their videos will get better edited over time. They'll learn how to make thumbnails at some point because they don't know how to use Photoshop or Pixel or whatever, or like Canva. They'll buy better equipment over time. You just have to let them scale slowly, right? That's literally all you can let them do, right? That advice already exists. You don't need to watch these channels to get that advice. You shouldn't even be watching this video. But like, this isn't an advice video. I like making jokes. So this is mostly just me complaining because I like complaining, right? That's what this channel is. It's me complaining. If you're watching so far, you should press subscribe. But anyway, what was I talking about? Here's actually an example I'll give that's like related to what I've been talking about. Let's say you're like starting to run, right? I'm doing lifting and running advice this video, all right? That's what I'm going to do. So let's say you're starting to run every day. you run for 30 minutes, right? And when you start out, you're probably not going to be able to run the whole time, right? Like you're probably going to have to run for 5 minutes, walk for 2.5 minutes, run for 5 minutes, walk for 2.5 minutes. That's probably what you're going to have to do. And then over time, you increase the running parts and you shorten the walking parts. Right, and then eventually you're going to be running the entire 30 minutes. But then after you start running the entire 30 minutes, right, now you're pretty fit, right? You can run for 30 minutes straight. But now you want your pace to improve, right? You don't want to run the same speed, right? So now it's like, oh, in 30 minutes I'm running. I don't know. I'm just going to make up a number. I'm running 2 miles in 30 minutes, which is not that good, but like it's like an easy pace. So now it's like, okay, so I'm running 1 mile in 15 minutes. Let me keep running 30 minutes every single day, but I want my pace to go down, right? Like I want to get faster. So now I want to run 2.05 miles in 30 minutes. And then the next week I want to run 2.1 miles in 30 minutes. And it's not going to be linear. You're going to improve, right? At some point you're going to be running a 5K in 30 minutes. At some point you're going to be running like 4 miles in 30 minutes. I don't know if that's possible actually, but I'm not a big runner. I ran last year, but like you get what I'm saying, all right? You have to pick the time constraint and then scale within the constraint. Right? So how does this connect to YouTube? All right. Well, it does connect to YouTube. Don't click off yet. If you're making a consistent schedule, that's the time constraint, right? So that's your week constraint, right? So like you don't have to do once a week, but I'm going to use that example because that's what I'm doing. So I make a video every single Sunday, right? That's my 30 minutes. But like the editing has to improve over time. I'm not going to be making perfect videos every single week from day one because I'm not fast enough at editing, right? I don't have the time to like edit so amazing every single week. So what I do is I do what I can. I make it as good as I can, and I incrementally improve it every single time to the point where over time, I should be able to do like a really, really good video instead of this average video once a week still. That's what I mean by scaling. You stay consistent. So you have 30 minutes and now you have a constraint, right? What is an optimization problem? I'm getting very mathy on you, but when you're doing constrained optimization, you're literally doing what I'm talking about. You're holding one thing constant so you can optimize another variable. You're holding the time, you're picking a consistent schedule, right? Once a week, every other week, pick something, and that way you can actually scale within that constraint. You get what I'm saying? That's literally what an optimization problem is. All right. If you take a calculus class, you'll know this. Just do that. That's the only advice you need. But yeah, anyway, that's this video. So yeah, you want to optimize later on, but like you want to constrain like a consistent schedule, optimize within that constraint, incrementally improve over time, right? It's not going to be like amazing immediately. Like the first gains are always the most, if that makes sense. It's like, it's the same thing with lifting weights. You're going to gain the most muscle in 1 year in your first year, if you're consistent. And then the second year will be similar, but like not as much. And then it'll go down over time. But like people won't really know you lift weights until you've been doing it for 3 years, unless you're on steroids. But it takes like 3 years for people to be like, oh, that guy's been lifting weights. First 2 years, people will probably just think you're losing weight. Like they're not going to notice if you're wearing clothes that you're jacked, right? It's just not going to happen. 3 years is not even that much, but like I think people start to notice if your body fat is like at a level where like you can see the bulge of your arm. Like if you're too like low body fat, then people will just think you're skinny. That's another issue. But yeah, like I'm getting sidetracked by all these topics, but I think you guys got what I'm saying. I think this video might be like 25 minutes long or something. OBS says I did like 40 minutes, but who knows if that's true, bro. Yeah, but that's this video. I did make this video with the intention to give advice. That's not what this video is. What this video is it's me complaining, right? I like to complain. It's fun for me. I think it's fun for the viewer, but I don't know, right? But I like making stuff like this, so I'm going to keep making stuff like this, and I'm going to keep making it better over time. And then I assume people will start watching at some point. Right now, most of my subscribers are bots from YouTube Shorts, so none of them watch this stuff. I actually don't think they're bots. I think they just watch YouTube Shorts, but they don't watch any of this stuff on the long form, so I'm going to pause the shorts for now, and I'm going to start making like stuff like this, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's this video. What else do I want to talk about, dude? I don't think I have anything else to say. Let me do a quick recap, dude. Saying you're going to get better at running, but then you do the same thing over and over and over again. You constantly run 5 minutes, walk 2.5 minutes. That's not going to help you improve. You have to get to the point where you can run a full 30 minutes. That's how you're optimizing. And then once you're at that constraint, like you're always running 30 minutes, but like once you can run the full 30 minutes, that's product market fit. You get what I'm saying? That is product market fit. And then at that point, then now you're scaling, right? Now you're trying to get, so that's like when you get like, I don't know, how many subscribers is product market fit? 10,000? Maybe it's even 2,000. At that point, you can run the full 30 minutes. Now it's about you like actually scaling that 30 minutes and getting faster within that 30 minutes. I'm not saying like people who run, they'll have days where they do 60 minutes, right? I'm not saying you can't like experiment still and like try different stuff, but I'm saying like you don't have to make a video every week. You can skip a week, but you have to get back on track, right? Or you have to pick a schedule and stick to it. It's like lifting weights. You don't want to say that you're going to lift twice a week and then like stop lifting and then stop forever, right? Like I'll miss a week. It's not like I don't miss a week, but I'm back on it like the week after that. You know what I mean? That's how you stay consistent. You can't be like, oh, I screwed up and now it's over. Anyway, I don't know why I'm giving advice, dude. I have like 200 subscribers. This is not good advice. But yeah, that's this video. Peace out. We'll see what I do next week, but I will be back next week. I'll be back every week, dude. So if you want to see my face again, if you want to see this voice, you want to hear this voice, and you want to see this face every single week, hit the subscribe button. You're probably not going to do it. No one's watching this far into the video, but if you are, you're probably already subscribed. I don't know why I'm talking so much, but yeah, subscribe. Peace out. Goodbye. I have to edit now. All right. I'm going to stop recording.